Hello, Internet. We are filming for once in the real world, not in the hobbit hole back in the house. I got some new equipment, which I understand all the cool kids wear like this, so I can be hip and cool too. Today we're looking at a not so much a drill, but a mental cue and a thing you need to be aware of for learning how to brace and making your brace effective. This is something I bring up in almost every form review I do for a beginner and even intermediate players. So the idea is called short leg, long leg. We want one leg long and one leg short, and people tend to get them backwards. So if I'm throwing this way, beginners end up with a long leg in the back and a short leg in the front. So with this shape, with my triangle set up this way, there is no possible way that the ground force coming from my front foot can contain my momentum. So my axis of rotation ends up being here on my front side. My rear side swings around like a door, and I take a big step off the front of the teepad. This is not an efficient movement. So what we want instead is a short leg in the back and a long leg in the front. Short leg, long leg. Here, we have a lot of containment in the front because we can get our heel closer to the target than our ball of our foot. And most importantly, the angle of the shin bone to the ground is more acute, more pointy. So if I shift my weight forward onto the front foot, now my weight is stacked more vertically, my shin bone is more vertical. I can't contain forward momentum anymore, so this doesn't work. So we want a short leg in the back and a long leg in the front. What goes wrong getting into this shape? The biggest problem is too much speed going into your walk up. Pros come into their walk up with a lot of speed. They also have a lot of brace power available. New players do not have a lot of brace power available, so we need to match the speed coming in to the ability to stop that speed on the front end with our brace. So, too much speed coming in. Initial step, you have too much speed, your hips are moving too fast, you're going to take a big step into your X step. So, when this step is large, the toes end up turning backwards. No one accepts like this, keeping their toes on a 90-degree angle. Look up Brian Earhart's video, X Step Deep Dive, very solid. That changed the way I coach footwork. I basically coach that now. So toes all going 90. When the X step is too long, it turns toes back, which turns everything else toes back. And then the plant step ends up being too long also, in which case you end up rocking up onto the heel ending in this position. So here, this is long leg, short leg, right? Being on my heel like that is not an athletic position. I cannot possibly, it's not probable that I will get my rear leg internally rotated. Seabass calls this eversion of the foot. Don't know why he chose to use a word no one knows what it means. Um, I think about it as internal rotation of the rear leg. So my hip socket is internally rotating, and the foot is everting, same thing. That is necessary for the hip to have range of motion to continue to rotate forward. If I end up in this heel position, my joint is locked out. I can't go forward anymore. So before this hip can go forward, I have to pull that anchor out of the ground, turn my foot around, and end up here. And then I don't get a counterweight, hyzer counterweight like I want. That's for a different video. So the other thing that happens is as I'm coming here, my knee is going to extend, trying to continue to push off of the ground. As if the rear knee extends, the hips go up, right? That's how shapes work. We don't want the hips going up into the brace. If anything, we want the hips coming down a little bit into the brace, and that's balanced by the front leg extending. So those forces will cancel out. Everything will stay nice and level and glidey. So that's what goes wrong. Too much speed makes the next step too long. Too long of a next step turns the toes back. And then when the toes are back, you end up rocking onto the heel and extending the rear knee. What you'd rather see is toes in, knees together, and then just get into your short leg, long leg from this position. So this is a little bit of a drill part. So you can stand here, take a step, and stop yourself, right? So all of my pressure went into my front leg. If there were a scale under my front foot, it would read more than 100% of my body weight. I can tell you that for sure because my rear foot lifted up. So here, My rear foot comes up, so there has to be more than 100% of my body weight on the front leg. Pressure shift, not weight shift. If I shift my weight is now over my front. Now I have a long leg and a short leg. So that's the gist of it. Try it out. Another way to think about it is make sure that your plant foot wins the race, right? So I'm not going to start moving my hips forward and moving my plant foot forward at the same time, because then I'm going to end up stacked on my front. I'm going to give my front foot a big old head start. So sink down in your knees, give your front foot a big old head start, and then shift your pressure without shifting your weight. So I can do a little wind up, drop. That's the feel you want. So if you can't do that here, you're not going to be able to do it at a full run either. So learn it here in a static environment and then start adding in more speed progressively. So you can do it here where the foot has already won the race. You make sure you can get a good stop on your front end, and then you can do a step. And again, make sure that you are moving the foot before you are moving the hips. If the hips move first, it's not going to work. So foot first, then hips, good pressure shift without a lot of weight shift. Then you add back in the steps, step, step, pause here, just full on stop. And then do the drill from this point. Not moving the hips forward quickly, but moving the foot forward quickly so that you can get to a good stop. Progressively just add more and more speed to where you're going slowly through your X step, but you still have your foot well in front of your hips. All right, internet, get out to the field, give it a try. See you next time.